Traditional strategies, they don't work anymore.
AI is making decisions faster than we can understand them.
Everyone's selling answers. Nobody has the truth.
Disruption isn't coming. It's already here.
Who's willing to cut through the bullshit?
Outwired.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Outwired. My name is Brian Sir with Inside the Perks and Modern Campground here, as always, with the esteemed Scott Barr from Karen Consulting Group. Scott, do you want to do your own intro? Like, I feel like I'm taking your thunder away, or like you would say something really...
Oh, no, it's good. I like, you get, it just flows right through. I think it flows through. I think it's just fine.
I just want to make sure I'm not taking away any of your thunder or anything like that, man.
No, there's no thunder. There's no thunder to be taken, so...
That's how I feel every day. But welcome to another episode of Outwired, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, kids, boys, girls, I don't know. Like, I feel like I almost stereotyped ourselves into just guys listening to us, but maybe that's the case. I feel like I do need a new intro, though, because it's just AI, and we have, like, not really talked about too much about AI. We should talk a little bit about it today. In some of the latest news, there's still all those changes going, back behind in the world, but we've been a little bit distracted, I think, with, other things that are impacting us. But we are, we're going to talk a little bit about AI today, what's coming across your desk, Scott, in a second. And, we'll just do a brief update on our friend that's, happening in the Middle East. It was, I guess, a ceasefire until yesterday. I thought I was going to come on here and be like, yeah, we got another ceasefire, Scott. And then, not so much.
No.
So we'll talk about that a little bit. But then I think what we'll do is we'll do a deep dive like we were talking about, Scott. I think what we're doing for a little bit is pretty good with these ChatGPT exercises, Claude exercises, where we kind of just go through and break down like something that would really help or impact the people that are watching our show, the owners and operators, something that's timely. So I think today we'll talk about a little bit about cost cutting, and I'm not going to steer it anyway like I did before. Like, obviously, I'll put some input into the chats and we'll get some feedback from you and things like that. But just kind of looking at like, hey, I'm a campground owner and operator, like maybe make up a fake campground for me or whatever else that we did, help me understand, like, here's my situation, here's my whatever. How do I, if I'm in a time already, right, where electricity is high and insurance is high and whatever else is high, and potentially all that stuff is about to get higher on me, what do I do? What can I do immediately, right? Can I step back and look at my organization and figure out what I want to cost cut on so that I can save more money or be more profitable or have higher margins? What can I do today immediately? What can I do tomorrow? What should I or should I not do? And then what can I do today to start taking steps long term to maybe protect those margins, whichever direction we go, right? Whether Brian and Scott are right or wrong, whether all the economists are right or wrong, whether the Iran war continues or doesn't continue, which seems so far away. But like either way, even if we're wrong and everything's rosy tomorrow, like your margins just get better with the things that we're going to talk about today. It has nothing to do with the war, right? So maybe we'll explore some of that and see how that goes and go from there. But first, tell me some good news, Scott. Like, I need some good news, man. Like, I'm kind of down this rabbit hole where like there's lots of good stuff to talk about, but it's hard to see the forest through the trees. Is that appropriate use of that phrase?
I think it's a good use of the term. What I'm going to start off with, it's going to sound like it's not uplifting, but it's going to end up that way, okay? I need a sip of Spindrift. What's commercial? No product placement. We do not get paid for that.
Well, what is it? Now you got to tell us. You got to do product placement.
Oh, Spindrift. It's a sparkling water, but it's got a little hint of juice in it. This is blood orange. It's
like there's a company called Bubbly up here.
Yep, we get bubblies down here too.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I told Krista I was going to make my own home bubbly. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
But excuse me. is that the other day on one of the social media outlets, I don't even remember which one, and I honestly I don't remember the topic, but I just remember this one woman. Her response was like, all these comments are going, "Ooh, it's this big flurry," and she's like, she goes, "You know what the bottom line is? We're all just exhausted," and everybody pretty much was like, "Yeah." If we could have seen videos of everybody, you would have seen heads nodding and people like, "Yeah, we are, we are," and I think that's how people feel right now a lot. And I think it's resulted in, some of the pulling back of, spending and, participating and so on. But to me, the silver lining in there is this is what we've been talking about as an industry for a long time, that people are seeking is a respite from that. And to me, here it is. This is the chance to start talking to these people. It's timely to be able to say, we know you're exhausted. Come on up, come stay with us. Come stay with us, hang out in the water, just soak. You don't have to do anything. Just stay here for a while. You're going to be in the woods. You're going to have a fire. You're going to eat some good food. And, just that whole thing. And I feel like here where I'm at in Maine is we're starting to see a little bit of an increase, even over the 4th of July. But it's weekend traffic. We're seeing a lot of increase in weekenders. And, for example, this past Saturday at the local farmers market, it was as busy as I've ever seen it. It was busier than 4th of July weekend. It opens at 9. And I got there just like most old people, like right at 9, and there were already lines at some of the vendors. It was interesting to see, and you know what? Everybody was in a great mood. It was you didn't hear any fuss, and you didn't hear people were laughing, and they had their dogs and their kids there, and it was just like these people are going to go back to Boston or wherever they came from to come up here. And they're going to tell everybody what a great time they had. And I think that if we can communicate that type of feeling and sentiment, if we can tap into that just a little bit, I know the local campgrounds here are packed on the weekends. Now, the river trip people are selling out both days every weekend. It's there's a flicker of light in there and I do think people need it. Maybe they're just looking for permission, and I think we do that. We can tap into it. We can salvage something here. I'm not saying it's gonna be great. I'm not saying it's gonna be up. You're not gonna increase 20% or anything, but I think there's a lot to be said for that message, and just getting in front of people and delivering that.
I mean, I think there's something to be said for I'm up 3%, and whether it's in camper nights, like ultimately revenue, right? Purchasing power, whatever else. We talk about that on the show. I think there's something to be said for that. And then stacking another like 3% of like, I've just made people happy this week on top of that, right? And I think that, and again, I'm putting myself in the shoes that we both are, right? Like never owned a campground. So there's obviously like, we could be wrong, we could be disconnected, we could not be thinking this through correctly, right? But the way I look at it is, as a campground, like let's talk the campground owner first piece of it, and then we'll go to the consumer, right? As a campground owner, if I can step back, and obviously this is a macro level thing that we're talking, right? If I can step back and I look at myself, and I'm the same way, because I'm a consumer too, right? If I'm a campground owner or a business owner or whatever else. So I'm in that bucket of people that you say are stressed out and exhausted and whatever else. I might be for different reasons than the people driving up to Boston, but it's mostly the same because I'm dealing with the higher prices and everything else that's happening around the world with the uncertainty and just whatever else, right? That you want to put in that micro bucket for yourself. We all have different reasons. But if I step back and think about that and say, what would de-stress me? And the original thing is, and I think you're right, and we're going to go into this in a second, right? Is the providing the experience, which is really what it is, right?
Hmm.
Providing the experience of escaping, of relaxing, of de-stressing to people from wherever they are. Boston, maybe it gets an unfair label, but like for sure, bigger crowded cities are generally on a macro level more stressful because people are more busy and there's traffic and everything else, right? Um, I think if you can step back and say like the first part of it almost looks more exhausting. That okay, like it's my job to de-stress somebody else who's going to de-stress me type thing, right? But I think a large part of why I talk to a lot of these small business owners, husband and wife teams still, and there's places for this in companies, right? But I think it's more prevalent in the husband and wife teams who have owned their properties for 10, 20, 30 years, is they got into this for a reason. And whatever that reason was, most of the people, not all, but most of the people today that I talk to still will tell you a story of a guest who came up and did something, who relaxed, who had a good time, that a child created a family memory or whatever else. They left a review about it, or they sent them a note, or told them in person or whatever else. That part at like de-stresses them. It gives them, not even necessarily de-stresses them, but gives them a reason for doing what they do every single day, right? A good reason.
Hmm.
And so I think that there's currency in that. There's value in that. And so I think what I believe we're headed to is not great economic times. And we're not going to turn dark, don't worry, right? We'll do that with a fan in a second. Um, but I think really there is an upside here. And we've talked about this on the show many times before, that outdoor hospitality is that kind of gateway as we deal with more AI slop, as we deal with more uncertainty in the world, as we deal with more clutter and robotics and whatever's coming and blah 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 blah, right? There's going to be one thing that you can't reproduce, and we've said this many times in the show: sitting by the river, underneath the trees, near the mountains, watching the birds, all the kinds of things. And I just think that if you're able to curate that experience for somebody, then in some small way, as a campground owner, that's going to help you de-stress or value what you do. Now, that's not the whole complete picture for you, right? But I think that's part of the reason for you. And then from the consumer side, it's yes, we want to tell them what we offer, but we also have to offer what we say we're offering, which means we don't offer parking lots. We can tell a story about that parking lot. Anybody can take a parking lot into AI and be like, write me a wonderful story about how, but then the expectation that the guest experiences isn't going to match reality, right? Doesn't mean you're not offering a good experience, right? You can, but is that experience the de-stressor? I still get texts from a former client who left us a couple years ago. Like I'm still in their automated text message system for whatever reason, for like buying one of their cabins. And so like every 3 days I'll get a text message. I really should just unsubscribe, but I'm too lazy to do it. So I get an automated text message and they're like, come by one of our cabins, look at the view from our cabin, look at the view. And it's like a couple trees or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I know this property. Like, that's a nice view of like pine trees or whatever else. But like when I get there, my cabin is going to be sandwiched between one on either side of me. And are the kids going to be screaming? Are the people going to be yelling? Is there going to be kids driving by on bicycles? Is there going to be RVs pulling in and out that are messing up my view? Is it going to be quiet in the morning when I drink my coffee? Like all those things. And I'm not picking on that property specifically. I'm intentionally not saying what it is, right? But all those things, you've got to deliver on that experience. You've got to step back and put yourself into your guest's shoes and say, hey, if I'm Scott and I'm a guest, or I'm Brian and I'm a guest, or I'm insert whoever that is with your buyer personas and whatever else that you're running, how do I actually help this person relax? How do I make sure that when they get here, they're going to be de-stressed? And if they're the type of person who wants to be isolated, they are. And if they're the type of person that like, the chatty Cathy type people who are like de-stressed when they're just yipping their mouths all the time, if that's your thing and that's the way you de-stress, then like I know your buyer persona and I can give you activities to do, or bingo, or line dancing, or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Whatever it is for your buyer persona that de-stresses your people, figure it out. And if you give it to them and you deliver that experience and then you tell the story, you're in a much better position. And I think that is really going to help both sides of it. But we've got to figure out in this industry how to deliver that type of experience. We have to. And I think the majority of us still haven't figured that out. You and I have. Well, we think we have anyway, because we're arrogant. But
Well,
we don't own a campground. We haven't actually implemented it. But thoughts on that?
it's easy for us to say.
Yeah, it is. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean the idea that you're to be that in tune with your guests is a huge advantage. You know, to be able to understand what it is, you know, based on, like you mentioned, their persona, or you know, who they are. That this is what's going to appeal to them. This is what's going to de-stress them. This is what's going to relax them. It's not going to be the same for everyone, obviously, but I think that, you know, there are some general guidelines that you can have, and also have in your toolbox the idea that, you know, having a conversation with someone, you're going to figure that out, because it's going to be in your line of questioning when you talk to people, when you're there, when they arrive, and you can basically say, well, gee, here's what I think you should do. You know, like, remember I had that quote of several weeks ago about the young woman who's like, just tell me to go sit on a rock by the river and leave my phone behind, you know. You know, that that's what you kind of figure out. And you know, people who want less programming, maybe they just want to stay at their campsite and be left alone. You know, I would suspect there's a lot of that that's going to be going on out there.
Yeah,
But
I think. Go ahead, finish. Sorry.
no, I was pretty much done. Anyway, I was just trying to build on what you were saying, and kind of, you know, take in the idea that, you know, you have these conversations, you have this understanding, and you know what you have, and to really just know that when people show up, they're going to be more stressed than usual, and their stress may come in the form of them, to go back to the original point where we started, was they may just look exhausted. You know, they just may, and so, you know, just use that you know, in your conversations, and how you approach these folks.
Yeah, I think you've got to step back and you just got to look at like run yourself through through their lives and imagine how I make somebody truly relax, right? And it's hard because you yourself might not be relaxed too. But just step back and think about, what can I really do to help this person have the best, most calmest experience they can for the brief time that they're with me. And just, I don't know, like if I was the owner of a resort based on this conversation and I was watching this, right, and many of you are, I think I would go to AI and I would say, hey, I'm X RV resort located in X city. Here's my website. Go browse, learn all about me, let it do its thing, go to the thinking model, let it browse your website, come back, right? Tell me everything you know about my campground. I want to create a series of 5 questions that once a person makes a reservation, they automatically get this questionnaire. And we know people won't fill it out, some people will, but we want to position it in a way where we get the most interest possible. And they receive these 5 questions, and I want these 5 questions to be the most informative questions that I can ask as a campground owner, to then help me psychologically profile my guest to enable me to custom tailor the experience to them. And not blatant, like, it could be maybe AI will spit out like, do you like quiet, do you like loud? But I mean, like, framing the questions in a way that like the guest sees them as super helpful and detailed questions. And they can answer one word, or they can answer a sentence, or they can answer a paragraph, or they can answer whatever, right? But then using those to psychologically profile your guests and doing a custom experience for them. Because then you just feed those answers into an AI, and just the same AI runs through the same thing and knows all your amenities and the local attractions in the area and everything else, and creates a custom itinerary for that person based on their psychological profile. I mean, that alone would probably, like, you'd be better than 98% of campgrounds in the entire country.
Absolutely.
But I think that's going to be the win, and we've been talking about it for a year and a half now. The show about experiences, and you and I have been talking about it for much longer in our in individual businesses, based on your research and, you know, what I've been talking about on clients and what we've shared on NC Fireside Chats a little bit. But like, and if you haven't taken a look at all of Scott's research, you got to go do that. You post it on LinkedIn, and I'm sure it's on your website somewhere too, right?
Yes. Yep. Yep. We have a resource library.
Yeah, all your work in emotional pulls and all those
Hmm.
kinds of right. Like this is going to be so critical. And I know we talk about this repetitively on the show, but guys, step back and look at what you're in the middle of. Turn off the news, right? Turn off the Fox News or the CNN or whatever you're watching, your local news. Turn off of social media and step back and based on what you know is true. And if you don't know enough of this is true, then go do one pass on a research, right? First and learn about it. But step back and realize the world that you're sitting in right now. Forget about opinions. Forget about what you think is right or wrong. Forget about reasons for being in a war or not being in a war, or being rich or poor, or underprivileged or not, or black, white, male, female. Forget about all of that and just recognize what most people in this world, outside of the K shape, right? So, like the
Right. Yep.
bottom rung of the K shape, which is about 60% of people, which is most of your campers outside of your high end luxury, right? Understand what they're dealing with. And you'll find that it's mostly the same things that you're dealing with, except maybe a lot of us just don't want to admit it to ourselves. And it's every goddamn thing on this earth is fucking expensive right now. It's really expensive. And because it's really expensive and because most people's wages haven't gone up, it's a big problem. I was reading, I don't want to get distracted off this, but I was reading this story about Japan the other day, Scott. Do you know that most people in Japan haven't asked for a raise in 40 years?
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Because the way they've handled their, and this is a deeper thing, you go read that, go listen to an economic video if you want to learn about this, right? Because Japan has basically kept their insurance or interest rates near at zero for the last 40 years. So there's been literally no inflation in Japan. So there's no reason to ask for a raise because everything costs the same it did in the 1980s.
Oh, wow.
Now that's starting to change, and now there's inflation
Mhm.
because that happened in COVID and everything else, right? So now people are asking for raises for the first time. But so our wages aren't keeping up. And this is like, I tell this conversation, bless my mother, I love my mother, right? But like, this is my parents used to own a couple Subways in upstate New York. They just got into other businesses. They own a couple apartments now, stuff like that. But I tell this conversation all the time. Like I can't remember what year. It must have been 2011, 2012, something like that. It was a while ago, right? But like I think at the time, and for those of you who are overseas, maybe watching this or in Canada, the United States has a federal minimum wage still of what is it, $7.75 an hour, $7.25 an hour, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Stupid low, right? But it's been that way forever. Nobody on earth can live on $7.75 an hour. Well, that's not true. You could. Nobody in a modern Western civilization can live on $7.75. And she would tell me, like, I think it was back then. I want to say the number was like $10 an hour or something, right? Or whatever. The conversation we had was like, she's like, I can't pay people $10 an hour. It just doesn't work out. The math doesn't work out. Like, I'm not offering people $10 an hour. It's just ridiculous. And I was like, Mom, could you live on $10 an hour? She's like, no, but, and I'm like, stop right there. That's it. Stop right there. It's not about your lifestyle. It's not about, yes, and we can get into the judgment of like, that person has a cell phone and they shouldn't. They bought the new TV and they shouldn't. That's not your job to decide and judge other people. It's not mine. It's not Scott's. It's not anybody else's, right? The bottom line is if you even strip all that stuff away, $10 an hour back then is pretty much, with inflation and everything else, basically like $18 an hour today, $20 an hour at a bare minimum. Strip all the extra stuff away and you still can barely afford to pay your rent and electricity and your car payment and everything else without having money left over, without any wasteful spending. And this is what your campground owners or your campground guests are dealing with, but also what you're dealing with as a campground owner too. And so if you step back and realize that both of you are the same, yes, one of you owns a business, maybe one of you doesn't. obviously the business owner could be traveling to your campground. I recognize there's an exception, right? But step back and realize that you're both suffering through the same things. You're having trouble affording something, right? Whether it's a new tractor for your campground that you need, or a new cabin to increase occupancy, or pouring a new concrete site, or your insurance or electricity, or whether it's the consumer with their insurance and electricity, or their food, or putting gas in their car to get to work, or being able to have the date night still that they wanted on a Friday night with their girlfriend or husband or wife that they can't afford anymore, that they had to cut. Everybody's struggling with something right now. This shit is bad out there, guys. It is bad for a lot of people. And it is going to get much, much worse if we don't fix this issue with oil and gas coming out of the Middle East. But point being, we'll get to that in a second, is that you have control over this. Unlike anybody else that runs any other business outside of maybe, like, I guess you could, maybe a massage parlor, right? Okay. You have a unique ability to be able to give these people a break from that. And when you step back and realize that for all of the things we just talked about, they're still choosing, in whatever number they are, and it's debatable about how far down the industry has gone this year or not, but it's down on a macro level. They're still literally taking those dollars and saying, this is something, at least right now in this moment, in July of 2026 or August of 2026, this is something that I can still scrape together and afford to do. Go camping or glamping or RVing or whatever, outdoor hospitality, right?
Mm-hmm.
You treasure that even more. And it's your responsibility. It is your responsibility, because you are in the travel business. You are in the hospitality business. And if you don't want to be in the hospitality business, get the fuck out. Sorry. You're in the hospitality business. Am I wrong, Scott, to say that?
No, you're not. No, that is absolutely what we're in. So yeah.
Like, you can make money by being in the hospitality business, but you have to be hospitable to be successful in the hospitality business. At least, and there's arguments that you can get away with it for a while, right? But like, it's time to pay the piper. Treasure that and take that and say, like, it's not just my marketing that I need to tweak. It's obviously a piece of it, right? It's the experience that I'm delivering. It's my customer service on the ground. It's the, yes, I can use AI and automation to personalize experiences, but I also need to recognize that I need a human touch, or I need somebody who's empathetic. And whether that's even a person, like it's somebody in person, or whether you have an experience in someone who you decided just wants to be left alone and relax, whether that's a personal handwritten note, they don't have to talk to somebody, but it's there in their cabin when they get there, or a custom gift basket, or like whatever it is, right? And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but just figuring out how you can curate this experience. If somebody needs told to go sit on the rock by the waterfall, politely tell them to do it. Give them permission, figure out what that is. Like, it's just the worst that this gets. And I and many, many smarter people than me in charge of oil companies, in charge of economies, who have been economists for years, especially after this last week, don't really see a way out of this thing, unless somebody decides to say that they're going to lose on either side, right? Not saying that this is all on Trump, right? It's going to get really, really bad from an economic perspective for a whole lot more people than it is today. And so if you can position yourself to be that person who can shepherd somebody through, and not just say, like, not just look at it as a transaction, as I want to take whatever last remaining dollars you have to put in, transfer from your pocket to my pocket. That can be part of it, right? Because you're a business and you should be making money. But the majority of what you say should be, yes, I want to take your money, but I want to give you something back for that money that's more valuable than the money you have. I want to give you peace. I want to give you less stress. I want to give you certainty of what you're going to do during your stay here. If you can do that for somebody, then in many cases that's worth more than the dollars they just parted with, despite how scarce those dollars are. And I think you'll be very successful doing that. But I think that's the opportunity right now that's in front of us, is for the next 3 to 5 years, and maybe longer. Who knows how AI and robotics is going to go, right? I think if you're in the hospitality business and you decide to be all in on the hospitality business and truly provide an experience that meets what your guests want, whatever that is, whether it's chatty Cathy or quiet time, I think you're going to be in a great position to be less stressed yourself and financially free. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Second
It's,
question.
I think, the idea that, when people show up, the importance of having it be something meaningful takes on greater and heightened importance. And what Brian was just talking about in terms of the hospitality, which is essentially making a connection with someone. You connect with them to figure out what they want to connect to, what connections they want to make, or because their connections could be, just to the people in their group. It could be maybe making new friends. It could be to the trees and the birds and everything else. But there's some kind of other connection that they need to help rewire where they're at, and that is, to me, what it's all about. Just to kind of build on that idea that when they show up, if you can achieve that, even at a small level, it will pay dividends for you, literally and figuratively, both. So it's that important. It sounds dramatic sometimes, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I mean, it is. It's why people flock to the outdoors. It's why people want to do these things. It's why they show up, and it's how you can entice them to show up. And at the end of it, they're not even going to talk about what they paid. They're going to talk about what they did.
Yeah. So I think that's the happy ending, right? Like, I think we'll work through cost-cutting exercises in a second. You'll hear us talk this week and in future weeks. Well, hopefully not in future weeks, but I think in future weeks, of how Iran and everything else is continuing and it's impacting, the economy and how your prices are paying and stuff like that. But like, if you need to listen to that because it's truthful and it's factual and it's informational and it's going to impact your life directly, as far away as it seems. But if you can see the forest through the trees, to get back to the saying, right? If you can see the forest through the trees, then what you realize is that you are in the most unique position that probably is available to anyone else in the outdoor hospitality business. You have the ability to give someone a respite, to give someone peace from all the things that are happening now and are likely to happen in the next couple of years. And if you are able to do that, not only will you give yourself more peace through giving that experience, you'll give yourself more peace because you'll be financially set up, because more people will come to you and be willing to trade that money for something that is more valuable than that money, which is peace and stress. Now, that won't be everybody, right? Like, not everybody's going to be willing to trade that. There's going to be a whole lot of people who will have the opportunity to trade that money. And there's just, I just see that there's so much fucking opportunity in this industry, Scott. There's so much industry for opportunity for people to, like, just build something that is truly meaningful to someone's life. And if you do that, like, man, there's so much room for people to be successful. Like, almost nobody is doing this, right?
Right.
Or if they are, they're doing it accidentally and not on purpose. Like, I bought a good land and a good piece of location with a waterfall or a hiking trail attached to it or something else, right? And I'm doing it, but I'm not doing it intentionally. And if you do it, and those people, to be clear, are winning. But if you do it intentionally and you do it with thought, like, man, the sky, I think, is the limit for you. And I think we could have everybody who listens to this podcast and listens to MSC Fireside Chats, like a couple thousand people probably a week. I think if we had all those people take all of everything that we just said and put it in practice, then we'd still probably go like 5-10 years before we were like running out of room for people to be successful.
Yep, I agree.
So
There it is. Look at this. We're a ray of sunshine today.
I know.
I like it.
You just have to. It's all about perception, right? It's reframing your thinking. It's not that you like a lot of the problem is people avoid the negative stuff because they think that that's going to make them happy. And blissful ignorance is not necessarily going to keep you happy all the time. Like it'll keep you happy
In the
on
short term, it will, but not in the long term.
right? And so, like, this is the way I view the world. Like, I talk a lot about things that sound negative, but on the back end, I realize that the more I know about the stuff that is negative, the more I can mold and bend and shape that into a positive for me or for my clients that I serve. And the same way can work for you as a campground owner, the same way can work for Scott as the business owner of Karen Consulting Group, everything else. But you have to know the negative. You can't ignore the negative. You've got to know what's coming in order to be able to put yourself in the shoes, or know what's here or be able to put yourself in the shoes, right? Like
Yep.
next year food prices are going to go way up for people. They're going to be like, I don't understand, why are food prices going up? Well, if you were willing to sit through some of the negative, you'd understand that fertilizer's not coming out of Iran, and all ties back to the Iran war on February 28th. And there's probably one guy you could blame for this. I don't know who that is. There's probably one guy. I haven't figured it out yet. Maybe somewhere, Scott. Do you want to take a guess at it, or do you want to just leave that?
It would just be a wild guess. I don't want to throw aspersions at anyone.
But like it's all linked together. All of it is linked together. So if you understand that, then now, like Scott and I talk about on the show about canning and right, just once in a while in our conversations about canning and having like I have 2 little freezers in the basement full of a little extra meat. Right? It's like I can buy a little bit extra meat now when it's X number of dollars per kilogram up here. And I know that I can just save that in a freezer for like X number of months, and maybe I'll eat it in 6 months, 8 months, but maybe it's $2 more per kilogram. Yeah, if I buy it in 6 to 8 months than if I buy it now. So that $2 is in my pocket. So that's again, it's knowing things, but creating and shaping an outcome that's more positive for you, that's uplifting. And we're talking about food because that's a big thing. But like you can do that in your campground, you can do that with expectations of guests, you can do that to make everybody happy too. Is there anything else to add to that topic before we breathe?
No, I think we're good. I don't know if you noticed, I just had 2 dogs. Oh, they're leaving now. Come barreling in here.
Riley was on my lap for most of the fireside chat show. It was like 15
Oh,
minutes.
cool.
It's like sitting there, and then she would like sit up and just block my head when I was trying to.
My dogs would do that if I let them, but then it would be just like dog.
Yeah, just have a Yorkshire Terrier. So, okay. So then, before we get into our exercise, then brief update on what's happening in Iran. And many of you think this doesn't impact me. It for sure impacts you. Should we just do a brief recap of this stuff? Because I feel like we haven't talked about this for a while. Like we've talked about
let's just keep it brief and just focus on how this is going to impact everyone.
Okay.
Big time. I'm just going to close my door. Okay. The dogs.
You don't want the dogs to hear the bad stuff? Right, that's good. Protect the dogs.
I want them to feel good about things.
I think the first thing is to understand why this is going to impact you briefly, and that's that you hear all the time about the U.S. being a net exporter of oil. You hear all the time the president, regardless of what you think about him, you hear all the time President Trump say that we don't need oil out of the Strait of Hormuz. You need oil out of the Strait of Hormuz. There are 2 different types of oil in the world. There's sweet, and there's lots of different types, right? But generally on a macro level, sweet, sour. Sweet is what the United States produces an abundance of. It's what we export to the rest of the world. Sour is what we need from the Middle East and from Canada and from a little bit from Venezuela, a little bit from Mexico that we can get, but mostly from Canada and the Middle East. And that's what we import to make the diesel and the jet fuel that actually runs literally everything that you touch. that brings your food to the store and your products and services to the groceries, delivers things to your campgrounds and runs RVs and everything else, right? And diesel and sour crude is the problem. And that's been cut off since February. Regardless of the back and forth, regardless of the ceasefire, not ceasefire, regardless of what news network you watch or don't watch, it hasn't come out of the Strait of Hormuz since February. And now, as of 2 weeks ago now, I think, since we talked about on the show, the other strait, Bab el-Mandeb, which is the other way that Saudi Arabia was getting its oil out since the Strait of Hormuz was closed, has now been blockaded by the Houthis as well. There's an Iran-aligned group. Either way, like 25% of the world's oil is gone, and all that sour crude is gone, and the inventories in the United States have been falling rapidly, and you're going to get to the point very, very quickly where you have a diesel shortage. You already are, kind of, and the prices of the diesel are going to go way, 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 way up, and oil is fine. We have lots of sweet crude oil. But oil is not the problem. It's getting the right type of oil to go into the refineries to make the diesel that runs the economy that's the problem. And we're not getting that. So that's how that impacts you in the United States, all the way across the world, just in oil. And then everything else that comes out of there, like helium to make data centers, chips, MRI machines, 50% something of the world's fertilizer comes out of the Middle East or something crazy like that.
It's a huge amount, yeah.
To grow your crops and grow your food. The LNG propane, LNG gas that comes out of there, so it's refined in the propane, but the LNG gas that comes out of there, an off product of that is sulfur, which turns into sulfuric acid, which makes fertilizer, which is a whole nother problem for your food. So all of that is global. It's all set in global prices now. The supply chain, we're a global economy. And so whether we have enough sweet oil, we're not going to run out of gasoline in the United States. We're not going to probably run out of diesel. In certain areas we might, but because it's such a shortage, it's going to keep driving this price. And your food's going to go up and everything's going to go up with everything compounded on top of it. It's going to make your life harder because all of that stuff goes into the electricity generation, goes into the cost that the insurance company pays. Downstream rolls to how much they have to pay their workers to make sure that their workers can afford food, which then raises the price of your insurance on your part. All of it, right? And so that's the brief nuts and bolts about why you should be paying attention to these negative facts, not because they make you joyful or because we really want to. It's because, like NBC said in the 1990s, the more you know, right? So the brief update on that is we had a ceasefire. Iran decided to break the ceasefire, which is the first time that they've broken the ceasefire versus the United States, and fired a couple of missiles at some bases. Donald Trump said this morning in a quote to Fox News, I'm going to get the quote a little bit wrong, but I'm going to get the two words that matter right. We're going to blow the fucking shit out of them, is what he said in an interview. The F and the fucking and the shit are for sure the two words that he said. Out of them. I don't know if it was blow up or destroy or whatever else, right? I read it this morning. So pending, right about now is about the time when it's the middle of the night. It's kind of our window to start striking. We're going to start striking in Iran. But you've got the Houthis blowing up Saudi oil refineries. You've got paramilitary groups in Iraq that are attacking Saudi oil refineries. You've got Saudi Arabia who's launching strikes on paramilitary groups in Iraq now. You've got Ukraine shooting missiles. Yes, Ukraine shooting missiles at Iranian ships and killing Iranian civilian people. This is not going very well. And so it's a lot of stuff that's going to downstream impact you and you got to pay attention to. Not because you can control it, but because you can control the output of what you do if you know that stuff in advance. And that's why we cover it briefly on the show, so that you can understand that. For the rest of everything else, lots of good politics shows, and not politics shows, extremely lots of politics shows, good analysis shows, and economists with commentaries who don't have a political agenda. We would just talk about this stuff. I watch a lot of that. If you want to learn more. That's all I got. Is that a good enough succinct wrap? I know nobody wants to really talk about this stuff, but
no, and we could talk about it till we're blue in the face today, and it'll be different tomorrow. But some things would be, but I think the bottom line really for people is you don't have to immerse yourself in this stuff, but just pay attention because it will affect you. If not now, it will in the near future. And as you look ahead to the rest of this season, and then as you start planning for next year, which I'm sure is on some people's minds already, these things should be top of mind to keep in mind where things are going to be entering into 2027. And I think that's why it's important to pay attention to it, because it's all these things. I think you mentioned the other day that the farmers are making their buying decisions like in August for 2027.
You sign their contracts for fertilizer in August.
So, when you think about that, it's like, okay, this is our food supply for next year. And, people will have to start thinking, anyway, it's part of your process. It's part of your thinking as you look at the year ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look at these videos, look at these economic numbers. Nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. We do know for sure what has happened, and that's that we've lost a lot of oil, and our inventories are very depleted, and X number of things have already happened that even if everything was just woke up this morning and everything was perfect, it's going to drive inflation to a pretty bad situation, even if everything is bad tomorrow or better tomorrow. So extrapolate that out. Like, the easiest win for you is your campground rates. For all the people who are at your campground this summer saying, can I book the next weekend next summer? And all the people who are like, sure, you can have the same price. No. Because if you give them the same price, I don't know what the number's going to be, but everything in your life is about to be inflated. So you're about to make what was already probably an underpriced campsite, as we determined in the Insider Perks pricing report, right? That was released in February.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be charging them not only the same rate, but you're not going to be making more money on the rate, but you're going to actually be losing money because the purchasing power isn't as high as it was.
Right. And I believe the Fed, I don't know if they already announced it today but I heard that the interest rates were not going to drop because until inflation is in that 2% range, they're not going to lower interest rates at all. So,
but what the interesting part about that is, and you're going to, I won't go down a rabbit hole, I promise you. What the interesting part about that is the thing that actually controls most of the benchmarks of like car loan rates and home loan rates and stuff like that is pegged to the 10-year treasury bond. And that can be impacted by how the Federal Reserve decides to raise and lower rates. But right now it's running hot anyway. It's at like 4.7%, which is like, I don't know, the highest it's been since 2000, COVID maybe, or 2022 or something like that. I don't know, something for a while. It's very rarely that high throughout all of history. And that is the amount that ends up going into and impacting the basis of how much it costs to buy a new RV or buy a house or buy a car. So what the Federal Reserve does in these meetings, which is the publicized number, can bring that down a little bit or bring that up a little bit, but it's more so like a whole way more boring thing about who's buying U.S. government debt, which is $40 trillion and growing, and it's less and less people every day. I'll tell you that. All right, I'm gonna run inside, bring myself here, and then we'll talk about cost cutting, right? What we're gonna do.
Yeah, so, I think this is a timely topic.
So open us up with this, Scott, because I'm going to go through this thought with Claude and everything else. Open us up with what cost cutting means to you. Like, what should they pay attention to from your perspective, based on your research?
From my perspective, in terms of cost cutting, it's you have to do it in my view. You have to do it with a scalpel. You have to be very deliberate in what you're doing and really think it through, because as we just spend a lot of time talking about, the idea here is you want your guests to show up and have the type of experience that they need and want, and that you can deliver on. The best way, in my opinion, to approach cost cutting is to look at the areas that could potentially be drawn back a bit, that would be relatively transparent to your guests. The ones that they aren't going to see, they aren't going to notice. That, or if they do, it's minimal. So, any part of your business, when you think about it, it's like, well, what's transparent? What doesn't the guest see? What can I, do in that area that will, help me out? I mean, when you think about things like, your staffing, most people have issues with staffing already. So plus, your staff, most people are bare bones as it is. There are people that they need. You need them there to provide hospitality. You need them to do, essential tasks. So that's probably going to be something that would be tough. It would be tough to do because anyway, I'll let that be part of our conversation. But other areas that you could think of that maybe more efficient energy systems, more efficient, whether it's lighting and so on, saving on things like water and things like stuff like that are, again, the guests won't see, but you will when you pay your bills every month. So that to me is like, would be kind of the overview on how I would like, if I was sitting down looking at everything, it would be, how can I cut costs, but my guests aren't going to notice that. And who knows, maybe there's ways to cut costs and actually the guests notice, but it's a positive reflection on you. So I think there's I would be interested to see if Claude can come up with any of those that would what could I do, kind of that contrary look, like flip it around, that something you could do that cuts your cost but is viewed in a positive light.
Okay, we'll see if we can get there. All right, so for those of us who are watching us or listening on the podcast, I guess, the question I'm asking Claude, and I'm screen sharing right now, so if you want to switch over to YouTube or our website or wherever you're going to see that. Actually, we have to put the archive stuff on our website still. I haven't done any episodes of that yet. But so I'm saying to Claude, I want to run through an exercise where we create a fully fleshed out example of a campground in the United States. Who owns it? What does it look like? What amenities, costs, employees, expenses, everything operational and every detail, so we can run some modeling on it that would help other campground owners. Full complete details. Think about this, do some research, use your own intelligence. And so we've got Claude doing some research here. While we do that, Claude, new models continue to pop up in AI. So I know I haven't been posting on LinkedIn a lot recently, like I kind of just heads down working on some stuff. So I got to get back to a little bit of that. But we've got several new models that have come out. Opus 5 is out now, which is, I guess, kind of a frontier model that's maybe more intelligent in some aspects than Fable or Mythos that we had come out a few weeks prior to that. We got GPT 5.6 that's come out. We have open source models from China. There's one called PM K3 that came out that is really, really cheap compared to these models. It almost functions at the same level. So there's lots of competition coming from China, which has caused a interesting thought process in investors' minds as to whether these AI companies are really worth all they are. We talked about the AI bubble here. I'll pull that in again. But so this frontier intelligence continues to increase. It's not something that you as a campground owner should mostly be worried about, because at this point, they all write good enough for you. They all research well enough. They all analyze documents. The step up intelligence that you're talking about now is encoding, analysis. Like, it is smarter, but you're going to notice very little of a difference as long as you're using a paid model and make sure you have thinking on. And the way you know you have thinking on is one, like if you're in Claude or Opus, like you can change the effort, right? Make sure you're at ease high. I like to go to extra, max for really hard problems. But like if it answers you really, really quickly here, it didn't think. You're looking for the searching the web, read memories, stuff like that, right? This little thing is spinning here, coming up with stuff, deliberating like a human being would. That's when you know you're really going to get the answers. And it doesn't need to think for 2, 3, 4 minutes like it's doing right now. It can, but it needs to think a little bit. Otherwise, it's just spitting shit. Is that a tongue twister? Spitting shit out of its training data, which sometimes can be accurate if it's like you don't really need it to think for creative writing. But anyway, that's what that is. So, like, I mean, really, what we're in now is an era of like, what can you take AI and build with AI? It's not the models in a chat interface anymore. It's what can I take and use AI from a coding perspective or like a automation perspective or a guest personalization standpoint. What can I do to build with AI? That's where we are at now in the economy. So see how long this thing is going to take to search and search and search and search and search. Hopefully it'll come back a little bit quicker. I want to go. I could just turn it to high, I guess. How good of answers we'll get. It's not that Queen's query, so we'll just wait on it in a second. But so what we're going to do is we're going to take this profile and we're going to work from it and say this is our working example of, pretend it's your campground. Obviously you can follow this on your own tutorial. You can take the prompts that we're using, you can put it in your own Claude or ChatGPT. You can model something off your own campground and just take this and say, go through exercises of like, okay, now look at what's happening in 2026 with the inflation and the increased costs and how all the things are going up in fuel and electricity and insurance, and get a baseline for like, what are my costs probably going to look like? And then we're going to start use that foundation, whatever it's spits back and says, right? We're going to use that as a foundation to then look at some of the things that Scott is talking about, his intro. But some of the things like, well, how do I, I'm facing all these increases and I can't just pass everything along to the consumer. So if I step back and holistically look at my business and everything that goes into it from a cost margin perspective, what I'm spending, what I'm not, what I'm renovating, what I'm not, what I'm fixing, what I'm not, what I'm marketing, what I'm not, all the things, right? Where are the places that I begin to start to cut costs? What's the low hanging fruit? Then what can, again, like I talked about in the beginning, like what can I cut today? What can I cut tomorrow? What can I cut next week? And what can I plan to cut a month or 2 years down the road if I'm starting now? For example, if I start planning a solar project or something, could I eventually get rid of my electricity? I'm not saying that's what that's going to spit out, right? But those are long-term projects that you could start to plan for now. This thing is really slow. I wonder if it's just like the response didn't load. I think I knew that already. Did you know that? Well, let's just run again on high and see if it goes.
Yeah, it is taking a bit, it seems.
Yeah, we'll go to ChatGPT if this doesn't work in a second. Actually, we'll just go to ChatGPT anyway. Let it run side by side. First, I'm just logged into ChatGPT. They want me to verify my email on my phone that I'm running the podcast from, so that's always a plus. So is it starting to work now? Exactly thinking? Yeah. It would be helpful to ask the same questions, I guess, to different models. That might be interesting.
Sometimes it's interesting to ask the same question of different ones. I actually do that quite a bit myself.
Yeah, I have like I build a whole local model thing. I think I showed you, right, with a bunch of different, like it's got frontier models in there too through their APIs. And so we kind of have some things like we call mixture of experts, where it asks the question to 4 different AIs at the same time and combines it all together and brings back a best answer. I don't use that for every question. That would be a waste. But all right, so we'll go over here, we'll go to ChatGPT. Same thing. So again, we have like, just do regular high on everything. I don't know what this advanced mode is. GPT 5.6, so the last one. Okay. Okay, we'll go back to Claude. You sent that several times. Yes, that's because you're broken, Claude. That's why I had to send it several times. Like a toddler. Taking longer than usual. Like we're out I've really been frustrated with Claude lately, I'll tell you that. Everybody seems to love Claude. I used to love Claude. I'm kind of done with Claude almost now. See how that goes. Still waiting on ChatGPT over here. I guess I could I wonder if I could run it through my little internal AI too, if it would run quicker. Might as well, we're waiting on everything else, right?
Your line of questioning is baffling the models today.
I see that. Maybe they just ran out of oil from the Strait of Hormuz and struggling to get stuff done. This is the flagship Chinese model we'll use. Yeah, we're not having good luck here today. Claude is like, I'm just going to take forever. ChatGPT is doing the same thing. Let's see if we can just build a new chat with, let's see if we can try one of the older models that nobody's using anymore. See if that makes it a little easier to see. Maybe it's just a problem with model number 5, because it's newish. See which one comes up with an answer first. Come on, give me something. There we go. Chinese model for the win. Okay. We have Cedar Ridge RV Resort and Campground, complete operational model, property identity ownership. Can you hear me okay? Hold on, let me turn off my vacuum again. My vacuum's going again. You think I changed that? Can you still hear me or no?
Yes. Yep.
I just didn't know if Bristol are not sponsored by Robocop. We should be though. All right, property identity ownership, legal name, DBA, location outside Asheville, North Carolina, Blue Ridge Mountains corridor. Ownership structure, LLC with 2 managing members, mid-sized, full-service private campground RV resort. Owners are Mike and Sarah Calloway. How does Mike own 60% and Sarah owns 40%? That feels very unfair.
Something speaks prenup to me. So
yeah. Legal and professional support, CPA firm, quarterly reviews, annual tax prep, $18,000 a year. Attorney, $6,000 a year. Insurance broker included in insurance costs below. Property is total acreage, 32 acres. Gently rolling foothills of mature hardwoods, oaks and maples, natural stone outcroppings. Elevation, 2,800 feet. 5, think mountain, modern, not rustic, crunchy, not stale, resort, clean minds, natural materials, warm wood tones. Make that a little bit bigger too. Paved road, asphalt, 20-foot wide, gravel interior loops with stabilized aggregate pads. 3 camping loops. Site inventory, 122 total rentable sites. Some full hookups, 50-30 amp full hookup pull-throughs. Partial hookups, tent sites premiums. Site density, 3.8 sites per acre. Amenities and facilities, 2 bathhouses. What do you think of this, Scott? Does this look pretty good?
Yep. That looks like a solid profile.
We're still going over like Claude has nothing still, and ChatGPT is writing some kind of Python code. So I guess we're using our own internal AI now.
You're in the midst of a rebellion, I think.
By the way, if you want your own internal AI, we can build one for your. No, I'm just kidding. Although we could. Anyway, okay, so this looks like a pretty good thing. Dump station, swimming pool, splash pad, pickleball courts, so lots of amenities. Hammock Grove, outdoor pavilion, fire pit amphitheater, disc golf course, stargazing field, premium touches, firewood, charcoal, bike rack stations, guest Wi-Fi, has a camp spotter rover pass as the reservation system. PMS, property management system, automated gate, security cameras. I think this is a lot more than many parks have, but we'll just go with it, right? Price structure, 2026 rates. Midweek 68, Sunday to Thursday, weekend 78. That's probably about right?
Yeah.
What is it citing? Hey, look, it's citing my pricing report. Look at that.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Weekly rates, peak, full hookup, pull through, premium cabin, monthly seasonal rates, ancillary revenue, golf cart revenue, $45 a day, firewood. Do these numbers look pretty accurate to you based on what your research shows?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Employees and staff
All
model.
reasonable.
Industry data shows 42% of parks pay $3 above minimum wage. That means they pay $10 an hour?
Sounds like it.
Could be by the staff. I feel like we don't want to dive into that, but like that'd be a whole other topic. How to pay your staff a wage that they can actually be happy with and want to come to work on. Year-round full-time staff, 5 people, assistant manager. So that's like husband and wife, maybe, like, right? That would be a couple. Maintenance supervisor, marketing and events coordinator, Sarah. Camp store manager. Yeah, maybe. Seasonal staff, front desk check-in, housekeeping, bathhouse, groundskeeper, activities coordinator. Okay, so that's paying a little bit more than that, right? Seasonal labor costs, 5 months, 108,000. Camp host 2 couples for a free site. Okay, so we're got work campers and $400 a month stipend, responsibilities, annual cost, total annual payroll and benefits, annual revenue model, national median occupancy 57%. Is that about what you got? ADR 56, but well-run parks hit 66% occupancy with higher ADR. This is why I like my own AI. I'm not tuning this, right? But like this is the Chinese models. But like, I feel like I haven't gotten nice charts and clean tables out of ChatGPT since like it first came out. I feel like it's been really dumbed down, but maybe I'm just asking the wrong questions. I don't know. Site night inventory, full hookup, billable nights a year, total site nights. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. Revenue projections by segment. $2 million subtotal for lodging. Ancillary revenue, golf cart, 650,000. Total gross revenue, 2.7 million. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Revenue per available site, yard pass is 66.08. Average daily rate across all site types, operating expenses annual, fixed recurring operating expenses, payroll benefits, percentage of revenue, 14.7%. Variable maintenance operating expenses. But this really went into great detail, didn't it? I really like this. Administrative marketing, total operating expenses. But now imagine like you can put your own thing in here as a campground, right? And you can say like, here's my actual documents. Wait, let me reconcile the payroll should be included. Cleaning the Ojai data report, but these are large monster parks for 2.7. Actually, I'm underestimating several categories. Okay, so it's redoing stuff. Profitability summary, stabilized per year, EBITDA margin, 54.6. Key performance indicators, capital expenditures and replacement reserves, seasonal model, competitive positioning, direct competitors, national forest campground, KOA holiday, state park campground, and luxury RV resort. Cedar Ridge positioning is mid-market, mountain modern, better than a KOA experience, more affordable than a luxury resort, differentiated by natural creek access trail systems, events, programming, digital element, Wi-Fi, and glamping options. Key demographics are weekend family campers, extended stay monthly seasonal, digital nomads and remote workers, RV snowbirds, wedding group event guests, adventure tourists, and hikers. Regulatory compliance, Okay, so all your licensing. Well, this really went into it, didn't it?
Oh yeah,
Really impressive.
there's a lot there.
Key risks and sensitivity, hurricane, severe weather. It's like basically like I don't know, it's not a feasibility study, but it's something valuable if you had that data. Expansion opportunities, glamping expansion, RV storage, food truck, coffee partnerships. Modeling assumptions for anyone running this as a financial model. Here are the key levers. This is designed to be a plug and play model for the insider purchase team. Okay. All right. So no. All right. So what we want to do now is to look at how inflation, other costs are increasing as a result of higher expenses such as payroll, insurance, electricity, fuel, and the outlooks for those forecasts into the remainder of 2026 and into 2027, and figure out how that will impact our profits. Be thorough. Anything else you need to say?
Oh, I think that's good.
Okay. So on that through. Well, that's starting to, you can see right here. Here's my little thing for the day, Scott. This is one of my Japanese knives I just ordered.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Yeah, so I'm gonna because I gotta cook, right? Like I'm learning how to cook with a nice handmade Japanese knife. Yeah,
oh wow.
it's called what is it called? A yuki. It's for carving up the roast. You can use it on vegetables and stuff too. But like that's really cool. It's all handmade and stamped. It's carved in steel. It's from like an individual maker in Japan. So I'm gonna buy these knives and then never have to buy another knife because I'm gonna take care of it when I sharpen it. But as long as I live, I plan for it to be about 700 monthly to buy a car. So because I'm gonna count on AI saving my life that one. All right, here's what we got. Cedar Ridge RV Resort inflation and cost impact analysis. The macro context where the economy is actually right now. Before touching our P&L, let's ground this in raw data. The macro picture is messier than it was 12 months ago. Current inflation, CPI year over year is 3.5. That was due to a drop in the fuel prices temporarily. So it's going to go back up, down from 4.2%. Core CPI, 2.6, excluding fuel and energy. Energy CPI is plus 15% year over year. So that alone, right, so if you didn't raise your rates 15.7%, you're already losing money compared to everything else, just because of the cost of energy to your expense as a campground. Food year over year is 3%, shelters 3%, producer price index is 6.7, consumer inflation expectations. And I will tell you, Scott, one of the best things about the AI that I built here is that I force it to search like multiple different sources. Like it gets back all this. This is why it has all this data in here. Whereas Claude, you'll notice, and sometimes ChatGPT only goes to like the top 5 sources or something. Not as much data. The June CPI is partially a relief, but inflation remains high. Forecasted inflation trajectory, 2026 Q2, 6%. It's forecasting a 6%. Oh, based on the Philly Fed Q2 survey. Okay. Q3 is at 3% and then back down, man. I don't know about that, but we'll see. 2026 full year, 3.5%. Key takeaway, inflation is coming down, but not fast enough for anyone planning operating budgets for the rest of 2026 and 2027. What this means for Cedar Ridge, the Fed won't be cutting rates anytime soon, which means your borrowing costs stay high, but more critically, the cost inputs that matter most to your P&L, labor, energy, insurance, and supplies are all running at or above general inflation. And then it goes into the cost categories. We're not going to go into all that, but impact on Cedar Ridge. Total payroll impact of just the lower estimate for inflation at 3.4%, right? This is the lower, like I think this is going to be closer to like 8-9% in 2027 if we don't fix something quick, right? Not the labor number specifically, but overall. Just that impact alone is plus $41,000 impacted in your payroll. This is why we talk about all these things, right?
Right.
This is why we talk about these things on the show. That's a $41,000 hit to your payroll just from that alone on a bare minimum lower inflation number, which is absolutely not going to happen. In percentage terms, payroll goes from 401,900 to approximately 443,000, a 10.4% increase over 2 years. If you lose even one full-time seasonal employee mid-peak, the cost of replacement, recruiting, training, productivity loss is roughly $5,000 to $7,000. At a 30% annual turnover rate common in hospitality, that's potentially $12,000 to $18,000 in hidden churn costs you won't see in the payroll line, but will absolutely hit your bottom line. Residential electricity prices are up 7.3% year over year. Commercial electricity is up 4.8% as of April of 2026. It's probably higher now. All sector average 13.88 cents per kilowatt hour, up 6%. Forecasted 3.8% growth in 2026, 2.7 in 2027. That's for sure an underestimate. EIA is the Energy Information Administration, whatever. Projects total U.S. electricity consumption to grow 3.1%. Demand is rising faster than supply. Natural gas prices up. North Carolina commercial electricity rate, because the park that it chose is in North Carolina, is approximately this. Impact on Cedar Ridge. Total electric base in 2026, 84,000. Second half increase 4,200. 2027 increase 3,600. Projected 2027 91,000. An increase of 9.3% for your electricity. This isn't the conservative numbers, guys. Okay, we're going to get positive here. Hopefully, we'll figure this out, right? But you got to go through the ugly first. You got to see what you're doing to yourself by only raising your site rates $2 or $3. Water, sewer, trash, everything else is here. Insurance, commercial auto rates are still up 10 to 15%, down from 20% plus in recent years. Hoteliers are reporting 25 to 50% property insurance increases in high-risk areas. Health insurance proposed increases, medium 14% for 2027. Workers' comp cost rising. Impact on Cedar Ridge, here's another $6,500. And then risks about the shocks of, a hurricane or something like that. Fuel, direct park use, diesel is currently at $4.58 a gallon. It's actually the national AAA diesel price is $5.32 a gallon now, as of today. I was looking at it today. EIA projected diesel is $4.80 to $5.61 a gallon in Q2. Diesel expected impact on Cedar Ridge. 2026 base 40,000, increase 7,000. 2027 plus 840. 4-year protection is 47,000. So again, that's another $8,000, right? In fuel costs for your campaign alone. Propane at $20 a pill is your selling price, but your wholesale cost is rising 15%. You're looking at either eating the margin or raising prices. Same with firewood. Cost categories: supply, maintenance, contractors. Producer price index is the wholesale cost that feeds directly into contractor rate suppliers. Construction costs are still elevated, 40 to 70,000 per RV pad for new builds. It's probably a little bit higher now, right? But supply chain normalization is ongoing. Maybe pool chemicals, all track PPI. Impact on Cedar Ridge is another 11,000. Cost category: marketing, booking fees, and technology. Credit card processing fees are. Some parks report doubling and tripling of credit card processing costs. That's interesting.
That's I've heard grumblings about that myself. That's people are starting to reevaluate their systems.
Reservation platform fees 2 to 3%. If revenue grows 4%, that line item grows proportionally. Marketing costs, digital ad CPCs continuing to rise 8 to 12%. Technology minimal increases, but subscription costs trending up 3 to 5%. Impact on Cedar Ridge, another $12,000. Property taxes and regulatory costs, another $3,000. Comprehensive cost impact, $147,000 just on the base low case inflation rate right now. It was a temporary dip and hasn't really passed through on everything. Like this is bad shit, guys. This is what we're trying to get you guys to pay attention to. The profit margin squeeze. Now let's apply this against revenue to see the damage. Scenario A, revenue flat, no rate increase. Gross revenue was 2.729 million. To 2027, no rate increase. You're losing $147,000 or 10%. If you increase your rate 5% to keep pace with inflation, barely, then you're still down $10,000. And if you increase your rate 7%, exceeding the cost of inflation, you're up $43,000. Worst case is recession plus a new competitor, you're down $283,000. So payroll is your biggest threat, not energy. While electricity gets the headlines, labor costs are growing fastest and have the most direct impact on your margin. A 10.4% payroll increase is 42,000 additional costs. Action items, invest in automation. We'll get to that in a second. Insurance will get worse before it gets better. Electricity is a long-term structural risk. Residential electricity prices have risen 29% since 2019, are projected to continue rising 2 to 4% annually. All right, we must raise rates to how? Okay, all right, so it's given us some good stuff here, but like what I want to is assume I can only pass through a portion of this to my customers in rate increases. Create a plan for me to cost cut everywhere else I can or should in order to maintain or exceed my current margins. But, and this is critical, do not reduce the guest experience. We want to make the guest experience better. Is that fair? Anything else you would add?
Nope. I think that's exactly what we want to hit.
I mean, it seems to be like just taking whatever I put into it and going like way beyond what we expected. So we'll just roll with it. See what it says here. Got anything from ChatGPT yet? Nope. ChatGPT is just writing a bunch of Python code. I don't even know what's happening.
You had something going on, man. You got
something.
Your AI went rogue.
And then Claude finally finished and gave us Herder Nails Rib Resort and Cabins, which, like, look at how short that is. Look at how short that is compared to what we just went through. There's literally no reason for you guys to be using Claude anymore. It's so expensive. It's ridiculous. Okay, anyway, back to here. Cedar Ridge RV Resort cost optimization and guest experience. Objective is offset $147,000 in projected 2027 cost increases through a combination of moderate rate increases, cost reduction, and revenue growth while making the guest experience better and not worse. Every action below follows one rule. The guest must feel more valued, not less. Cost cutting that degrades the experience is a false economy. It reduces occupancy, kills reviews, and accelerates churn. The strategies below cut costs by making operations smarter and not leaner. Phase 1, labor, automate the robotic and elevate the human. Current payroll 401,000, projected 2027 with no action 443. Labor is your single biggest controllable cost and your biggest opportunity. The goal isn't to fire people, it's to eliminate the tasks that don't require a human touch and redeploy that time toward guest interaction. Contactless check-in and self-service kiosks. Investment $3,000 to $5,000 for self-service kiosks, hardware and software setup. Annual cost $1,200 a year, assuming a software subscription. Savings reduces front desk labor by 1.5 full-time employee equivalent, $24,000 a year in seasonal wages. Guests can check in 24/7, no waiting in line, no office closed frustration. This is what modern travelers expect. Technology can't spot Firefly reservations or ResNexus, all other self-service check-in and automated gate codes. Key data, parks that add online booking typically see a 15 to 25% increase in reservations within the first year, largely from bookings that come outside office hours. That's revenue you're currently leaving on the table. Automated guest communication, investment $0 to $50 a month, included in most PMS systems. Savings eliminates 20 to 30 hours a week of phone calls, texts, and emails. I don't know who includes automated guest communication for free in their PMS system, but okay. Maybe there's somebody. $12,000 a year in labor, but like think AI chatbots, right? Right? AI phone agents, just whatever else. Automated pre-arrival messages, triggered. Oh no, it's just that's separate. So this is just talking about automated guest communications. Okay. Trigger SMS sequences via this AI chatbot for guest questions, $50 to $200 a month. Handles 60 to 70% of routine questions, saves $8,000 a year in labor. Instant answers, no wait times, no callback during business hours. Modern campers expect this. KOA has already deployed an AI chat on their booking platform. Have they now? Sorry. They have. I don't know that it's as helpful as I would consider that what you need, but maybe I'm a little bit biased. Cross training and scheduling optimization investment, $0 scheduling software, $50 to $100 a month. Savings reduce seasonal labor needs by one position. Guest experience, multi-skilled staff can respond faster. Redeploy camp hosts, guest experience roles. Labor savings summary, total $58,000. Maybe that's a little optimistic, but maybe.
Yeah, you know.
For that size of the resort, I could see that happening. Phase 2 energy, solar, LED, and smart metering. Current electricity 84,000, projected 27, 91,000. Solar installation in common areas. So again, you're spending money to save money, right? So like you got to decide how you want to do this, the structure, right?
Right.
Annual savings 18 to 28,000, covers 25 to 35% of electricity bill. Payback 3 to 5 years at current electricity rates. Solar is a brand differentiator. Net cost to you after a tax credit. So you get tax credits for a lot of this stuff, right? ROI with $30,000 investment, you save $18,000 a year. Payback 1.5 to 2 years. LED retrofit, smart electric metering on all full hookup sites. 4 pool system operation. Solar heated pool, okay. Energy savings, investment 41 to 63,000, annual savings 37 to 55,000. That's not bad.
No.
I mean, again, these numbers aren't exact, right? But phase 3 insurance optimized, don't just accept. Current insurance 59,800, projected 2027 66,000. Shop your policy every 2 years, not 5. Increase deductibles, raise property deductibles from 1,000 to 5,000, raise auto deductible to 2,500. Expected savings 8 to 15%. Guest experience no impact. Risk you absorb smaller claims, maintain a reserve fund for unexpected costs. Bundle all policies. Eliminate high risk amenities. Review amenities that increase insurance exposure, ATV rentals, zip lines, jumping pads. If they're not generating significant revenue, consider removing them or getting specialty coverage. 2 to 5,000 premium reduction. Consider a captive insurance solution. Join a campground association captive insurance pool. Several state associations, Florida, Alabama, are exploring this. Document everything. Insurance savings summary, $19,600 to $41,700. That's not bad. You can do that.
Nope.
Procurement and vendor optimization. Current maintenance supplies 148,000. Projected 2027 160. Vendor consolidation. Audit all your vendors. Consolidate except for Cairn Consulting and Insider Perks. Don't audit.
Oh no, you're not touching those.
Consolidate from 10 plus suppliers down to 5 and 6. Negotiate volume pricing. Expected savings 8 to 20% on supplies and maintenance. Group purchasing organization for pool chemicals, cleaning supplies, propane, firewood, and landscaping. There are hospitality specific GPOs available. And you could probably get yourself in with like a group purchasing for a hotel, group 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's expected savings 8 to 15,000. Propane contract lock-in. Lock-in propane prices via fixed rate supply contract for 12 months. Natural gas prices are forecast at 2026. Seasonal landscaping, switch from hourly to fixed fee seasonal contract for a local landscaper. Negotiate multi-year pricing. Preventative maintenance program. Procurement savings 31,000 to 66,000. Phase 5 revenue growth, ancillary upsells, and occupancy. This is the secret weapon in the plan. Instead of raising rates across the board, which risks alienating guests, you increase revenue per guest through smarter pricing and ancillary sales. This approach is validated by campground consultant Jeff Hoffman. Look at that.
Oh, look
Jeff
at that.
Shout out, man. Who argues that a $50 a night rate with higher occupancy and $15 in ancillary spending per guest beats a $60 a night rate with lower occupancy. That's Jeff. He's an accountant, right? Like he can do math for sure. Jeff's a great guy. Camp Strategy, if you're not familiar with Jeff. Very great guy, very smart man. Dynamic pricing, AI powered. Action, implement AI powered dynamic pricing to your reservation system. I don't know if many reservation systems have AI powered dynamic pricing, but they for sure have rate adjustments on triggered schedules that they call dynamic pricing. But for sure, you could increase your lodging revenue like that. Pre-arrival upsell bundles, 3 to 7 days before the arrival, offer bundles via email, SMS. Late checkout, firewood plus premium Wi-Fi and golf cart rental. 1 click to add to reservation. Look, that's a article on InsiderBricks.com. How about that?
Yeah.
$25,000 to $45,000, 10 to 15% of guests accept. Premium site tiers. Recategorize your best 20 sites as premium and charge 15 to 20% more. Stay 3 and save loyalty programs offer a discount on the third night or a loyalty pass for repeat guests. This increases occupancy without reducing ADR on the first 2 nights. Midweek occupancy promotions run targeted midweek packages. Wellness Wednesday and Taste of Fall. Camp Spot's 2025 biggest booking week saw a 74% jump in reservations from such promotions. That was it's a great thing that Camp Spot runs, but that's a macro nationwide thing, right?
Mhm.
Now we have to be on Camp Spot. Ancillary revenue expansion, add 2 to 3 food trucks on weekends. Revenue share model, 15% to park. Expand the camp store to include local artisan goods, custom Cedar Ridge merch, and camping essentials. Event venue revenue, formalize the pavilion as a wedding event venue. Digital nomad remote worker package, offer a work from the mountains package. Revenue growth summary, $413,000 to $700,000.
Okay, those are some pretty substantial savings, I would say.
Not even savings. We're talking about revenue growth now, man. We did the savings earlier. This is just the revenue growth from here. This is just from the dynamic pricing, loyalty programs, and food trucks. So the full picture, 2027 P&L were plan implemented. Cost reductions, savings 170,000. 2027 total expenses 1.4 million in 2027 projected with no action. If you added your cost reduction, it would be 1,017,000. Your revenue growth with the plan would be $3 million. Your final 2027 P&L, 2027 with plan would be plus $543,000, 37% increase.
$500,000. That's I think most people would take that going away. You'd be a fool not to.
I mean, even if we're 50% wrong on the numbers, that's $250,000.
Right. And that's still 18% improvement.
And we're talking about, we're just narrowly in the parameters of making the guest experience better too. Like, and saving or saving, earning whatever, $550,000 more. Investment summary, solar, your total is $44,000 to $70,000. Annual return is this. Payback is less than 1 year. Implementation timeline. The verdict, you can absorb $147,000 in cost increases, maintain a 3% rate increase, not 7%, and still come out ahead by cutting $150,000 through labor automation, energy efficiency, insurance optimization, and procurement savings, growing revenue by $293,000 through dynamic pricing, ancillary expansion, and occupancy gains, improving the guest experience at every step, faster check-in, better communication, more activities, more options, and better amenities. The key insight is that cost reduction and guest experience enhancement are not opposing forces. They're the same strategy. Every dollar you save through automation, energy efficiency, and smarter operations is a dollar that makes the park better for your guests in this model. Do you want to do any of this stuff? Or
no, that's good. I mean, and I think that's kind of what I was hoping would come out of this at the very beginning when I said things that cost-cutting measures that actually were a benefit, had a positive effect. It wasn't. It's addition by subtraction, to use that overused phrase. But yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, if you can do that, that's I don't know, you're off to the races.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I think. Like, I step back and look at this industry and all the people I talk to on the phone, and I think about we did this in a 10-second exercise, right? There's probably 15 to 20 things that we missed at your specific individual property, or swap or substitute out, right? Let's call it a net 10 more that we could find, that we could look at, that would save you money. Installing smart thermostats in the cabin to control the lights and the air conditioning, right? When people leave and come back in, presence detectors, stuff like that, that would save you on electricity. Like, so many different things that our industry has just never even looked at, never even considered, never even thought of, never conceptualized or conceived of, never sat down and ran the numbers on. And I don't know why that is. I'm guessing because, like, my default is to say, like, we've never had an occupancy problem, so we never bothered to look at it. But, like, what do you think the reason is that people have never sat down and run exercises like this?
I do think, well, you kind of hit upon it a little bit, that haven't had to, just haven't really had to do it in the past, because people had good capacity, they had good, the occupancy was up, they were charging what felt fair and what was making them money, but we're no longer in that arena. We also, and I've been trying to say this as loudly as to anyone who will listen to me, when they start evaluating their numbers and looking at what's going on, is the impact of increased competition. There is more competition in the marketplace now than there has ever been. And it is impacting everything that people do. So on top of all of this, the economic factors, these cost saving measures, we now have competition that was not there before.
I'm asking how I should react to that. I thought you had more, but I wasn't going to interrupt you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to some folks about this idea, just kind of looking at the results of some of the research we've been doing, and I keep saying it's competition is changing the dynamic. I mean, way back when I worked in healthcare, and I worked in a very competitive market, and in what we're starting to see is the similar patterns. We're starting to see some of that.
All right, competitive landscape. The truth about the competition: new supply is real but modest. The industry pipeline shows 90 new campgrounds with 18,000 sites planned through 2027. I feel like maybe that's right, because construction has slowed down dramatically.
It has slowed. It's still
going.
It's still going. I think there's a lot of smaller boutique types of parks that don't always make the radar screen too. And I feel like that's for some, if you're a larger campground, it's death by 1,000 cuts. Each new park, even if they're small, just kind of erodes a little bit more your base. So
your competitive moat: 5-star relationships, repeat guest relationships. The framework: compete on existence, not reaction. Don't react to competitors, make them react to you.
That's the age old that I remember this consultant, it was really a bright guy saying that. It's like, if you're the market leader, especially, don't react to what's going on around you. Make them follow you always.
The parks that win aren't the ones who respond to every new competitor's move. They're the ones who have such a clear identity and such deep guest relationships that new entrants have to figure out how to compete against them. The 3 competitive strategies: pick your focus. Strategy 1 is fortify, make your existing operation so good that new entrants can't match it, and sometimes won't even be a new entrant if you're that good enough, right?
Yep.
Strategy 2, differentiate, own a niche so specific that new entrants can't serve the same audience. Strategy 3, expand, grow your revenue and reach so that new supply doesn't matter. Peter Ridge should execute all 3 simultaneously. Here's how. Make your existing operation bulletproof. Dominate Google in reviews. Do this immediately. New competitors have 0 reviews. You have hundreds. Reply to every review within 24 hours, positive and negative. That signals to both Google's algorithm and prospective guests that you're actively engaged. Implement a post-checkout review request, automated. Create a reviews page on your website that showcases your best feedback. Post video walkthroughs of your park on your Google Business Profile, YouTube, and social media. Optimize for AI search, add FAQ sections, structured data, schema markup. AI tools are increasingly how travelers discover campgrounds. The math, a park with 500 plus reviews at 4.7 stars is virtually unassailable by a new entrant with 0 to 10 reviews. Lock in your repeat guest base. The cost of winning a second stay is roughly 30% of the first day acquisition cost. Hey, that's from me too. Launch a loyalty program. Simple point dollar system. That's from me too. Auto roll at checkout, 250 point sign up bonus. Keep total reward costs near 5% of site income. Create a founding members tier for guests who've stayed 3+ times. Priority booking, 10% discount, exclusive events. Send personalized emails after each stay. We saved your favorite site, Site 47 Creek Loop. You want to book it for next month. Build a Cedar Ridge family Facebook group. Quarterly newsletter. If you increase repeat guest rate from 25% to 35%, that's 12 additional site nights per week during peak season, $40,000 to $60,000 in additional revenue with near zero acquisition cost. Priority 3 is protect your seasonal monthly base. Monthly and seasonal guests provide your predictable revenue floor. A new competitor can't attract those guests for 2 to 3 years because they need trust and relationships. Actions are lock in seasonal renewals early, offer a 5% early bird discount for those who commit by October 1st for the following year. Create a snowbird welcome package, personalized site assignment, local area guide, community newsletter. Add monthly guest exclusive amenities. Build a monthly guest council, quarterly meeting with top 5 seasonal guests for feedback and input on park improvements. Differentiate, own a niche that new entrants can't easily copy. RV parks emphasizing a strong lifestyle brand report 12 to 18% higher occupancy and a 10 to 15% increase in ancillary revenue from activities, rentals, and on-site services compared to generic amenity-only competitors. Cedar Ridge's identity is the mountain modern escape where nature meets modern comfort for the camper who wants both wilderness and Wi-Fi. Actions to reinforce this identity, curate the aesthetic. Every touch point should feel intentional. Branded fire pits, signature Cedar Ridge s'more kits, custom trail maps, seasonal wildflower arrangements at the Welcome Center. Create signature experiences that can't be replicated. Creekside yoga, stargazing nights with a local astronomy club partner, guided nature walks with a naturalist, Cedar Ridge sessions, monthly live music, seasonal harvest events, apple picking, fall foliage drives, and spring wildflower hikes. Not every park needs to be everything to everyone. Smaller parks with a clear identity often outperform expectations thanks to repeat clientele and efficient management. Consider developing specific niches.
I say niche, but it's tomato, I think.
Yeah. So digital nomad, investment 5 to 10K, dog friendly adventure. You don't need to pick one. You can layer these as themed weekends and packages throughout the year. The experience economy. Camping is becoming less about, who's this say? Campground connection? Camping is becoming less about location and more about connection. Campgrounds that offer live music, food trucks, family activities, and local partnerships are building loyal returning guests. Look, there's a monthly event calendar example. I'm telling you, like Chinese AI, man. It's like so much cheaper and clearly better. Maybe not better in all aspects, but expand, grow revenue so new supply doesn't matter. The revenue expansion playbook. If your revenue grows 15 to 20% while new competitors are still at 0%, their presence is irrelevant. Actions, previous cost optimization, additional competitive expansion moves, local business partnerships. So this is specific to our example park, right? The cross promote with actual breweries, restaurants, outfitters, offer a Cedar Ridge guest card with discounts at 10+ local businesses. This makes your park the gateway to the region, not just a place to stay. Host 2 to 3 camping influencers for season. Market the pavilion and group camping to corporate retreat planners, yoga instructors, and wellness coaches. Custom hats, t-shirts, mugs, stickers, high margin brand reinforcement. Instagram-worthy signage, murals, hammock groves, and scenic overlooks. Cedar Ridge season pass, unlimited weekday camping, May to October. Unlimited weekday camping, I like.
I do too.
How to respond to specific competitive scenarios. Scenario 1, a new KOA opens 15 miles away. Don't panic. KOA is a franchise system. Their strength is brand recognition and reservation infrastructure. Their weakness is that they're formulaic. Guests know exactly what they'll get. I don't know if KOA would agree that that's a weakness, but AI seems to think of it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who you're trying to attract and how and that just because in the research I've done with KOA throughout the years, one what happens to a lot of people, and I won't get into a whole bunch of detail on this to get sidetracked, but is that some people are more comfortable with knowing what they'll get based on that versus, something else. So especially people who are on the road looking for that last minute stay.
There's definitely pros to it for sure. Your response, double down on what KOA can't offer. Your unique mountain setting, your creek access. Don't compete on price, compete on experience. KOA guests at $72 to $85 a night should feel like they're getting a chain hotel. Your guests at $68 to $78 a night should feel like they're discovering a hidden gem. Chinese AI does not like KOA. Leverage the indie angle. Many campers actively seek out independent parks over chains. Market this. Cedar Ridge is family owned, not corporate owned. Monitor their pricing, but don't match it. If they run promotions, that's their problem. Your repeat guests won't leave for a coupon. Scenario 2, a luxury RV resort opens nearby at $95 to $120 a night. This is actually good news for you. They're pulling in higher spending clientele that might overflow to your park when they're booked, and their presence validates the market. Your response is create a sister property referral relationship. When they're full, they send overflow to you. When your premium guests want something ultra luxury, you send them there. Capture their overflow with targeted digital campaigns. Add a few premium sites of your own, not to match them, but to capture guests who want a little nicer without the luxury price tag. Scenario 3, a budget basic campground opens at $40 a night. Let them have it. Budget campers who choose on price alone will always chase the lowest rate. You don't want those guests. They have the highest complaint rates and lowest ancillary spend. Don't lower your rates ever. A race to the bottom destroys everyone. Clarify your positioning. Make it obvious in all marketing why your park is worth the premium. Let your reviews do the talking. Scenario number 4, a glamping resort opens at $150 to $200, $250 a night. Join them, don't fight them. Glamping is growing at 7.15% CAGR through 2031 and is attracting an entirely different guest segment. Your response is add 4 to 8 glamping units of your own. You already have 4 in the model. This captures a market without seeding it. Market your glamping as authentic versus their manufactured experience. Use glamping as a gateway drug. The competitive monitoring system, don't react, just track. Competitor pricing, reviews, social media, new development announcements, OTA rankings. The 30-minute competitive audit quarterly. Book a mystery stay at your top 2 competitors. Pay attention to check-in process, site quality, amenities, staff interaction, and checkout. Read their last 20 reviews on Google and TripAdvisor. What are guests praising and what are they complaining about? Compare your pricing against theirs for equivalent site types. Check their website. Is it modern? Does it have online booking? Is the UX good? Note any new amenities they've added since your last check. This isn't espionage. It's basic business intelligence that tells you where to invest your next dollar. The bottom line, the competitive response isn't a single action. It's a system. Fortify what you have. Differentiate your identity. Expand your revenue. Monitor intelligently. Never panic on price. The parks that survive and thrive aren't the ones with the most amenities or the lowest rates. They're the ones where guests feel like they belong. That's something a new entrant can't build overnight, no matter how much money they throw at construction. The single most important question to answer is, when a guest stays at Cedar Ridge, what do they tell their friends when they get home? If that answer is specific, emotional, and compelling, you don't have a competition problem.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's what you said, right? That's what you said. When they go home and they don't talk about how much they pay, right?
That's exactly what you want. That's your goal as a campground owner. I say that to people. Sometimes they look at me a little funny, and then it finally hits them. It's like, yeah, if you don't want people talking about your price one way or the other, it's like you want it to match. That's your goal.
All right, I think that's a good place. I think we got what we wanted to done too, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So, final thoughts?
I like this exercise. I'm really glad we did the competition thing, and the results that came out of here are things that if you talk to someone, marketing strategist, that they're going to reinforce a lot of this with you. That the competition impacts a lot of the things you're doing for cost saving measures as well. When you think about how you're positioned against your competition, and again, to not make them follow you. You're going to offer more value, have a better experience. I like this. I like the tie-in between all the cost saving measures and how much it makes sense, building the case by having all the background information. A lot of people could do this by just carving out a couple hours of their time and go through this exercise. Don't use Claude though.
Apparently not. Yeah. I mean, look at it, man. Like it was like super like wow. We would have never had such a good answer. Like it gave us a couple okay things. It was like 10 things versus whatever this was that we got like all this stuff out of, right? It was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you got all the plan laid out, the rationale, the justification, everything is in there. It's like you said earlier, to feed in, if you're a campground owner, feed in your own information, and then just have it go to town, because I think it would be well worth your time.
All right. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Outwired. As always, we just encourage you to learn about the facts of your surroundings, pay attention to what's going on, because the more informed you are, despite having to sometimes go through that negativity, and sometimes the world's in a positive place, you can look for both sides of it, right? But pushing through that and being more knowledgeable about it just makes you more empowered and gives you ways to eventually run thought exercises that can help you not only save money, but make more money and improve the guest experience at the same time. But you've got to be willing to have that conversation with yourself, and nobody's going to have that conversation with themselves unless they have a reason to have that conversation, right?
Right.
So, all right. Thanks for joining us, Scott. Let me get. I'm on here. And we will see you next week on another episode of Outwired. So yeah.
Peace out. Take care, everybody.